Hello and welcome to Channel 2S. I'm your host Second Soundwave, and today we're trying something new. Starting now, Gunpla News will hopefully become a permanent addition to this channel. To kick things off, I'm going to be going quickly over every currently upcoming kit just to get caught up. So this episode will be a bit longer than most of them will be. So without further ado, let's begin. This month of May will be bringing us many a Gunpla. We'll be getting a new manga-only Gundam from IBO called the Astaroth. This HG kit will use the typical Gundam frame and be compatible with the Barbatos and the Rebag, and retail for 1,000 yen. I'm not all that excited for this one myself, but I know a lot of people really like this design, so it's great that it's getting a kit. Also coming out in May is the Origin Zaku 1. This is yet another reuse of the outstanding Origin Zaku frame, and can be built as one of two custom units. And for 1,800 yen, it's definitely worth it. The Revive line continues with the Gion, sporting its iconic knight motif and at 1,200 yen MSRP. I'm not a fan of this design at all, but it certainly is an improvement over the other absolutely ancient HGUC kit. The biggest question on my mind is, does it still work with the valuable pod from Gundam Build Fighters? I guess we'll be finding out in a few weeks. The Thunderbolt line is still continuing on, and by continuing I mean they're still just re-releasing the same kits with slightly tweaked colors to match the OVA. At least it's not as bad as the Seed Remaster line, since these are fairly recent molds. Regardless, animation versions of the Psycho Zaku 2 and the GM are coming out this month for 2,700 yen and 1,800 yen respectively. The classic SD line is celebrating its 400th release with the Night Dragon Superior, a rather snazzy gold chrome fellow that's been a part of the SD lore for ages but never got a proper kit. And I mentioned it's gold chrome, it's all over this thing, making it one of the most expensive SDs in recent years at 2,500 yen. And finally, the real grade 00 Quanta. Setsuna seems to get a lot of love in the real grade line, and now we finally have all of his Gundams at the real grade. It looks to share the same frame as the Exia and the 00 Riser, so if you like those two, you'll probably like this one as well. Like almost every real grade, the Quanta retails at 2,500 yen. Moving on into June, the IBO 1/100th line continues with the Graze Custom. This iconic MS was notably absent from the line until now, but thankfully Bandai's fixing that. There are a plethora of option parts, including some that can be used to convert it into the Graze ground type. It's not the correct gray-blue color, but it's still a great bonus to help round out this 3,000 yen kit. We're also getting yet another Thunderbolt Animation release, this time the 1,800 yen Zaku 1. Again, nothing really to say about it, as it barely even qualifies as a recolor. In a similar vein is the HGUC Full Armor Gundam Unicorn Red Frame version. Released to coincide with Re-0096, this new unicorn will sport a Verka-inspired decal sheet and, at long last, a beam javelin. Basically, it's just a way for Bandai to sucker fans into buying another 3,400 yen unicorn. Although on the other hand, if they ever decide to make a green frame Banshee Norn, that's something I'd be interested in. The Force Impulse Gundam is finally getting the HG it deserves in the form of an 1,800 yen Revive kit. I'm a big fan of the Impulse Gundam's design, I'll be picking this one up for sure. Hopefully we'll get the Blast and Sword variants in the near future. Rounding out the retail kits is the debut of a brand new line, Figurize Bust. Bandai is pushing the limits of injection molding with entire complex sections molded as single components. Just look at those eyes. Amazing. Geara and Atherin will be both coming out next month for 1,200 yen a pop. We're also getting a big batch of p-bandai releases in June. The HGBF Lightning Zeta Gundam Astaroth is a great homage to Amuro's White Zeta Gundam, and also shows that Bandai hasn't forgotten Build Fighters despite the surge of new Gundam shows this year. I'm loving the look of this kit a lot, and will try to get a hold of one if I can. 2,300 yen might not seem like a bad price, but the hard part with p-bandai kits is finding one in the first place. The 0079 Revive HGs are getting the real type color variants in June, referencing an old line of no grades from back in the 80s. The Gundam and Gopher just recolors with some new stickers, but the gun cannon has the added bonus of the missile pods that appeared later on in the classic anime. They cost 1,200, 1,800, and 1,500 yen respectively on the p-bandai site, but bear in mind the site's only usable if you're in Japan. Lastly, the Master Grade Zeta Plus A1 and Geara Doga are getting unicorn variants thanks to the new TV show. The Zeta Plus is just a 3,400 yen recolor, But the Geara Doga doesn't even have that going for it. It's essentially just a stock Doga with some stickers on the chest and arms to emulate the sleeves markings. At 5,400 yen, it's a very easy pass for just about anyone. Bandai's only revealed a taste of what's coming out in July, but the biggest reveal is quite literally the Master Grade Full Armor Gundam Thunderbolt version Verka. This 7,000 yen behemoth appears to be using the Origin Gundam frame, but it's hard to tell right now. Hopefully the end result will justify the 3-month gap between the Freedom and the Thunderbolt. Moving on to admittedly less impressive news, the ever-popular Petite Guy is getting 2 new flavors in July, milk and coffee. Bear Guys of all shapes and sizes are almost a license to print money for Bandai, so of course they're expanding the family to include a classic Teddy Bear Brown and Polar Bear White variants. I might be grabbing one for myself as they're pretty cheap at 500 yen each. The HD Origin line finally gets a Gundam in the form of whatever this is. It's a prototype ground Gundam, but it's officially called the Gundam Local Type. I'll be likely passing on this one. Its proportions look way off, and it's about as generic as it gets. Lastly, a p-bandai Barbatos is on the way, one that includes the parts needed to make every form from the anime. This is a great way to get a complete Barbatos, and at 3,200 yen is cheaper than getting all the individual sets you'd usually need, assuming you can find it for close to that price. And just before we wrap this up, I'm going to quickly go over a couple of upcoming kits that have no confirmed release information at the time of this recording. A 1/100th Kimora's Trooper was revealed recently, presumably coming out sometime this summer. There don't appear any obvious improvements over the HG judging by these preliminary images, and personally I'm not all that wowed by it. Since it appeared so briefly in the show, I'm kind of surprised it's getting a 1/100th at all. But I can see the appeal if they release a Graze Ritter and Graze Ainz later on, allowing a full recreation of the final battle. While there are no images of the physical kit so far, there has been confirmation of a Master Grade Psycho Zaku 2 Verka to accompany the Full Armor Gundam Thunderbolt version. I'm really curious as to whether they'll reuse the 2.0 Zaku frame, or they'll use this as an excuse to make a 3.0 body. If the latter ends up being the case, we may end up seeing some more Origin MGs down the line. At the time of this recording, this is all the information we've been given on Bandai's upcoming Gunpla releases. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and feel free to comment on which of these kits you're looking forward to the most. I'm personally hyped for the new Force Impulse Gundam. It's so cool to see one of my favorite Gundams finally get a modern upgrade at this scale. More news and reviews will be coming up soon, and until then, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you next time.